with the Charlie Kirk Bible read and Bob Rant. Usually done about middle of the day. Run out of time today, but thought with all the politicians getting back into Parliament, it was good to get an episode up, even if it was later than normal. So here we are, coming up. It's taken us time. There's me. There's my co-host, JJ. He's huffing and puffing because we've just been out the front throwing around for a bit. He's been cooped up all day, so I had to get him a bit of activity. I just tried to get out. I was going to get on earlier this afternoon, but just ran out of time. Had to go to get some work done. Just got back in today because I think there's a few important things to go over. Plus, I want to share with you what I communicated with our Liberal Party friends up in Canberra, and I will also be sharing it with my One Nation friends as well. Before I do anything, of course, there's my boy sitting on the couch. Got to give you a view of the bay as usual, just to see the weather's been pretty warm day today, and that's our bay looking beautiful this time of night. Normally, me and the dog would be out for a walk, but you guys take a priority tonight. So that's the thing. It's been, like I said, nice and warm. It's been windy the last couple of days, but much less so today. Just a bit warm, not real bad, just nice. But apparently the heat coming later this week. So unfortunately, my old aircon unit, which you may hear in the background, doesn't work that well when it gets hot, so which is not good. But anyway, it is what it is. So there's a view. Get our Bible read done. And I've got my dog coming at my feet again. And then we'll get stuck in. January 19th. Life based on forgiveness. The second set of stone tablets, Exodus 34, 1-7. The Israelites repeatedly disobeyed God, yet their leader Moses is reminded here about God's great love and compassion for his special people. The Lord said to Moses, The Lord said to Moses, cut 2 stone tablets like the first ones, and I will write on them the words that were on the first tablets, which you broke. Be ready tomorrow morning and come up Mount Sinai to meet me there at the top. No one is to come up with you. No one is to be seen on any part of the mountain, and no sheep or cattle are to graze at the foot of the mountain. So Moses cut 2 more stone tablets, and early the next morning he carried them up Mount Sinai, just as the Lord had commanded. The Lord came down in a cloud, stood with him there, and pronounced his holy name, the Lord. The Lord then passed in front of him and called out, I, the Lord, am God, who is full of compassion and pity, who is not easily angered and who shows great love and faithfulness. I keep my promise for thousands of generations and forgive evil and sin, but I will not fail to punish children and grandchildren to the 3rd and 4th generation for the sins of their parents. Bit harsh. Don't even know that much about my grandparents. Hopefully they behaved themselves. We'll see. So, thought it was important. I wanted to share one important thing. And a lot of people say when I do this, you're not going to make any difference, whatever. You're probably right. It probably won't. But 2 things, you never know unless you have a crack. And number 2, it gets it off your chest. It's very therapeutic. So that is what I do on a regular basis. I don't bother writing to the ARP guys. I mean, what's the point? I think we can all see their game. But there are still a number of people within the LNP that I think are fairly decent guys and girls, conservative-minded, and they've got to do one of 2 things. They've got to take control of their party, or they've got to do a Barnaby and jump across to One Nation. It's just as simple as that. For us to get anywhere. And the reason I wrote today is I thought good on them, gave them a lot of credit, thought they were totally jettisoning this hate speech laws, but now they're looking to, make amendments. They've got rid of one clause, but especially the one in assembly and organisations, they're looking to make amendments for that. And I just think it's a road we shouldn't be going down. It's this whole omnibus bill, the whole lot of it should get thrown out. Now, the gun laws won't. They'll always get the gun laws up because the Greens will always support the ALP, and so they'll get up. But the Liberals are now trying to negotiate with the ALP. Just don't negotiate with the bastards. It's as simple as that. So, anyway, I wanted to share with everyone the letter that I wrote, so I will share that. Just bear with me as I go through it. I'll just get it up. Letter to LNP. So this is the letter that I shared with them. Where am I? Dear LNP members of Parliament and previous candidates, I wrote to, because I wrote to them all regularly, I wrote to you all on the 5th of November last year. In that letter, I wrote the following. You currently sit in a political wilderness, and unless you address that urgently, it will soon consume you, just as it has done in the UK to the Conservative Party there. You're on the very verge of it right now. Now, I'm no Nostradamus. Anyone could have seen that coming, but I think it was very appropriate moment to share that because with the latest polls coming out, it is backing up that statement. And I go on, today's new poll has simply confirmed how correct my warning was. You are now the third party of choice on the political landscape, and rightly so. Many of you've lost total connection with the grassroots Australians who are fed up with both the Labor and Liberal way of doing things, and it will only get worse for you if you don't address it. I also wrote the following, so bear with me, this goes a bit longer. It's not too late, I'm starting to think it is, but it's time for decisive action, not half measures, not Labor-led strategies, not polling-informed policy making. You need to decide what your party stands for and fight like cornered tigers to win the day. The solution to this malaise is too simple, but it needs political will, not committees of review. Do the following 10 things and ordinary Australians will support you in significant numbers to secure government. 1, Conservatives need to separate from the moderates within the LNP. And they've done that a little. The Conservatives reign, but they haven't done it enough. Julian Lisa, for example, is just a pathetic moderate. We need a true centre-right alternative to the current Marxist parties in this country. We don't need a fake imitation of them. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. And net zero and the renewable insanity. Now, they've done half that. They've walked away from net zero, but they haven't ended the renewable insanity. And listen, they're in opposition, so it makes it harder. Embrace coal energy again and build towards a nuclear industry in the future. So they're on the right track with the nuclear industry, but they should start embracing coal as well. Clean coal. They do it in Japan, do it everywhere else. Why can't we? Stop mass immigration. I think, God, all they've got to do is freeze it. Commit to freezing it. Like I said, it's killing this country. Jacinta Price was right. You know it, but many of you put your prized positions in politics above the interests of this nation when you ostracized it. In doing so, you exposed the should be self as the weak and pathetic faceless power brokers you seem to think you are. Stop kissing the feet of different demographics in society and treat and serve all Australians equally. Now, I would argue, and this was all from my last letter, so I'm putting in this for a reason. They're falling for it again. We all hated what happened in Bondi, but what we're doing is we're trying to, through this anti-Semitism omnibus or whatever they're breaking it up into now, they're only addressing one part of the community. They're not addressing everyone. And the easiest way to have addressed everyone was to isolate and identify radical Islam as the problem. When you put anti-Semitism in there, it brings everybody into it. And you're only looking at one part. What if the radical Islamists target a Christian church next time? But all they're doing is focusing on one part of the community. So while it was a tragedy and we all hated it, the politicians do this all the time because the polls are going to affect them. And like I say, this next sentence, the groveling of so many of you towards the Indian and Chinese communities has not only been vomit-inducing, it has lost you the support of so many others. When will you learn this sort of pandering doesn't work, and even worse, is totally wrong and reprehensible? Through my work, I deal with people of all sorts of different cultural backgrounds. They include families of Chinese, Vietnamese, Indian, Indonesian, Christian, Jewish, and Islamic heritage. I simply treat them as I would anybody else. So should you. Number 5, reduce government. Remove any bureaucracies and red tape that stops Australians from thriving. Reduce taxes and allow Australians to earn more and keep more of the money they work so hard to earn. Be bold. Number 6, be bold and consider legislation reform that can make Australia reach the very best of its potential. Number 7, stop listening to the media, focus groups and polling companies. Decide what's right for this nation, draw a line in the sand and fight for it. Win the arguments. Bring Christianity and traditional family values back into this nation and embrace the heritage of our forebears and our ancestors. Number 9, get the hell out of our lives, which is exactly what we're going through right now. Stop trying to control us, dictate to us, dominate us, and lecture us. You can start doing that by committing to repeal any law that will impinge on the free speech of any Australian. Now remember, I've written this back in November last year. You can start by dismantling the abhorrent Australian E-Safety Commission and removing your support for the underage social media ban. That's the parents' responsibility, not some bloody politician in Canberra. Number 10, address rising crime in our streets, strengthen our laws, increase law enforcement, establish an Australian version of the National Guard, and address bail laws and strengthen penalties. Don't leave it to the states. These are 10 key areas, but I have plenty more. I conduct a podcast. Oh, God, I've missed it. So my spelling, I should have double-checked again, every Tuesday, where we announce conservative policy straight from the grassroots. You can find it here via this link. So then I go on with the letter. That was from my past letter, and I thought that was an important segue into what I wanted to write today, which is much briefer. You are now at a minute to midnight. If you jump into bed with the ALP to pass any part of their abysmal legislation to combat anti-Semitism, then your time as a political force will have come to an end. This will occur as the final remnant of your traditional base of voters that has been clinging on by their fingernails for you to correct course will finally give up and jump across to One Nation. It's already happening, and if you take a Labor-light approach to this legislation, that torrent will become a flood. You need to reject this abomination camouflaged as legislation in its entirety. You then need to change leadership. Susan Ley seems a decent enough person and has done her best, but we are at a pitchfork in the road moment in this nation's political history. You can cling on with Ms. Ley and serve up all the political talking point excuses for keeping her on as leader, but nobody is listening. Do that, and every news poll for the next 12 months will continue to be a disaster. Your survival as a political force is at risk today. Stop listening to your political strategists and power players. Those imbeciles have put you into the precarious position that you face at the moment. To be blunt, you need to put Andrew Hastie and Jacinta Price into leadership positions. They are your only hope, as they have a semblance of trust with everyday Australians. That's just a fact, a simple political reality. If you can't bring this about, then every Conservative within the Liberal Party ranks should follow Barnaby Joyce's example and jump across to One Nation. Act in this nation's best interest by giving the voting public a genuine opposition to the current mob playing charades, trying to convince all and sundry that they can govern. If you think I'm too harsh in my judgment, then I run my own podcast every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Each and every one of you is welcome to come on it and debate and discuss your views, especially you moderate types. I would heartily welcome that. I am sharing this correspondence with my 11,000 followers on X, and God knows how many beyond that once they share it. You can come out of your Canberra bubbles and actually engage, or you can hide behind your campaign strategists and pretend the community angst will go away. How's that been going for you? My podcast door is always open. Let's talk the issues. You sincerely, Bob Mann, the Eureka Conservative, blah, 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 with all my details. So we sent that. We use this software. So we sent that earlier today. So as you can see, the campaign has been sent. 130 recipients. So that's all the LNP, Liberal and LNP members of Parliament, plus their candidates from the last election. Because even if we got on those candidates, if those candidates jump ship and join One Nation and give them more candidates for the next federal and state election, that's a win. There's the design. So that all got sent out about 3:30 this afternoon. Then I had to bolt. Sorry, I didn't share that. So there's the tab. As you can see, 130 recipients. If I view that, and you'll see LNP, Federal Parliamentary Member contacts, so and candidates as well. So that all went out. Email campaigns. So that went out at 3:40 today. So they had a party meeting at 40. We had 43 opens, 154 clicks. That's interesting. That means a lot of people have actually had a look at the letter. That's very interesting, 154 clicks. 43 opens is disappointing, but they're probably in Parliament. Cut them some slack. And then probably mainly the LNP members. Other people, this will go on. They can look at it in their inbox. 154 clicks. Let's see. I'm going to share this tab again. Let's see who's had a bit of a look. They've had a click. They've had a look at the letter. Sometimes these don't get. Look, Senator Matt O'Sullivan. Don't even know who it is. Senator Blythe, Ross Vasta, Morton, Katie Allen. Oh, that's interesting. Ha! It's only showing 6 clicks. Sometimes my email software lets me down. But it looks like it's got a response, which is good. We'll see where it leads to. It's interesting. I'll show you another thing on a share. I should have checked. I keep forgetting to do this these days. Sorry, I'll just double check. Everyone can hear me. I'm sure everyone can. Otherwise, I would have got a message by now. But it's worth double checking. I'm very anxious about this because I had one episode early on when I did these. I keep explaining this where I talk for well over an hour to myself. And I'm live. Let's have a look at the live. Yeah. Good. That's working. All right. So I'll give you another share. Let's see if I can get my inbox up because I think the inbox is quite funny. All right, I'll give you a look at the inbox. I always laugh. If you do what I do, and it's not hard, you can get on the Federal Parliament website, and it gives you all the contacts for all the MPs. And if you can't get it off there, you can go to the MPs' website directly, and you get all their contacts. You put up a little database, and it's good for 3 years until you have your next election. And if you get onto it during election time, you go to the Liberal Party and National Party's websites. They give you all the contacts for their candidates. So you can actually really follow up with them over that term and hopefully get feedback. It hasn't worked yet, but I'm going to keep plugging away. So I'm just going to see if I can share my email box. Hold on, guys. I think it's just funny to have a bit of a look at this inbox. Here we go. Just make sure I'm sharing that. Nothing too dramatic in it for me to share. So I'll get in there. If I scroll through on this, you'll see all you get when you send it is these automatic replies. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your email. Automatic. Thank you. Automatic. 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 Thank you. Automatic. 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 Joy. Automatic. So they're going through, as you can see. So that is not unusual. When you send these through, a lot of the time you do get those automatic emails. So that is not unusual. I'm not too sure that comes up as a click. I'd have to see through on that. But, yeah, so they've all got it. They've all got my email. I think it was pretty blunt. Change leadership. Get rid of this bill. They were going to have a party room meeting at 4. If anyone got to read it, great. I was later getting it out than I hoped, but we got it out. And, they can consider it. Whether they do or don't, I mean, it's not really – I don't care whether they do or don't. If they don't do it, One Nation takes over. If they do it, they've got maybe a chance of thinking we get a better Liberal Party. If it sows a seed – it might actually also encourage a few to jump ship and go to One Nation. It's better than sitting back and whining on social media. So, I've been relatively proactive. I had 2 or 3 emails that I sent to them all last year, and I've done one this year, and I'll do more. Next one I'm going to be doing is to our state LNP members, and I CC in the One Nation ones. I'm sure they get a kick out of it as well. Because I'm telling them all to go over to One Nation. So we can only encourage them. I used this analogy before, being a sports coach. With my players, you can kick the crap out of them and they just lose confidence. Sometimes you've got to encourage them and sow the seed for them to do something better and then pat them on the back, So we'll see where it goes. I'll be really interested to get a few of them onto the podcast. I'm going to ring a few of them this time and say, do you want to come on? Have an interview. Come and talk to regular people that used to be LNP voters. Come and talk to us and find out why we're not anymore. I would love to get whether they're a moderate or conservative, I would love to get a moderate on my podcast. I don't really care, So if you've got any connections to any LNP members, MPs, send them on that email. And you can do that because I have shared it on my feed. So just find it on my feed and send it through to them. Talking of feeds, time, that was 20 minutes. To have a bit of check, I'll have a check of that in a minute. The other interesting bit of fun I had today, I had, can't remember his name, Ozpill, I think it's Ozpill. Can't remember his name. He and Avi Enemy get into it whenever they cross paths. But this is a kid who's born into wealth. He lives in inner city, and there's nothing wrong with that, all right? He's born in the inner cities of Melbourne. From what I understand, it's either Hawthorn or Kew. And his grandparents built a very good construction company. So he's a privileged boy, He's one of those private school toffs and, gravitate, and he's got nothing better to do with his time. So he's gone to the NSN and he pushes around there, which is fine. You can do that too. What I didn't like yesterday, and all the white nationalists, NSN, Nazis, whatever you want to call them, you can have that opinion. I'm different. If you want to have that opinion, fine. I've got the right to call you out for being a dickhead. You've got the right to call me out for being a dickhead. That's free speech. I accept that. There's nothing wrong with that. But yesterday, there was the Professor, Steve Shavera, if I'm pronouncing that wrong. He used to appear on Sky News, doesn't anymore. I think he got sort of called out. And wrongly, people tried to cancel him at his university, but he dog whistles. He dog whistles to the NSN and to the white nationalists. And they both yesterday decided to pay out on a farmer. Now, all the farmer said was what is actually a fact, and it's been a fact for a very, very long time. Now, I was born in the country, raised in the country, and this is back in the 80s and early 90s, and I did a bit of part-time casual work, especially when I had holidays. It's a great way to get extra cash. And, you do some picking and all that, because when they have their harvest, you've got to get that harvest in before it rots. So you've got to get people out in the fields and do it. And I think a lot of it's machinery these days, but back then it was a lot of picking. So, and it was good work, hard work, long hours, but they paid you well. You got good money. And if it was a long way away, you also got room and board and meals and all this sort of shit. So I did it probably 3-4 times with a few mates. But most of the workers there, they were immigrants. Most Aussie kids and young people didn't want to do it. I got put onto it because of a connection through the cricket club, and working in the bank, you didn't get paid much. So it's just a great way to get a few extra dollars in your account. And, living in the country and working in the country, you got to know a lot of the country people and the farm people and all that. You couldn't get better people, soul to the earth, work hard, work dawn to dusk. And I'm not talking, I got put it back to some idiot today about corporate farmers. I'm talking about your nuts and bolts farmers, your family farmers. So Ozpill decided there was 3 guys, one was 72, one was 65, and one was 75. And they were doing some concreting on this farm. And there's, I think, an Indian or a Sri Lankan guy was up interviewing them. And the point, what the Indian guy did, he said, why are you guys doing that? Why don't you have younger guys? And he was being a smart ass to the Indian guy. He said, where's all the white guys? So he was trying to wedge the old racial thing. But the farmer just gave an honest opinion. He goes, well, they're not interested. It's too early, too hard, don't want to get out. The white Aussie boys don't want to do it. That's a fact. I'm sorry. You can argue all you like and say they're trying to uncut wages. No, they're not. If you want to go and get work on a farm, it's actually not that hard. Leave the city, go out to the farm. They're crying out for it. They'll take anyone. They don't care who it is because they've got to get the harvest in. They've got to get their work done. They're not worried about the colour of your skin. Most of them just want to get people who are prepared to do the work, put in the hours to help their farm function, work, and make a profit, because a lot of them aren't making a profit. And it's a very thin wedge sometimes. So anyway, Ozpill decided to have a crack at these 3 Aussie guys. There's a similar thing. He's having a crack at three Aussie guys about, bringing in immigrant workers, to underpay so they don't have to pay the normal wages for an Aussie guy. Now, there may be a little bit going on that, but that's not the case on the majority. And this Ozpil guy had no receipts for this with these three guys. He just got this video because it was done by an immigrant and pushes his white national theory. So he slanders these three white Aussie guys. How about, like I said, go interview him, go find out, get the receipts, find out where this guy is, go talk to the farmer. How about you take three of your fellow white guys, get out of your privileged inner city thing and go help the farmer? If white nationalists think so much about white nationalism, and this is what pisses me off about white nationalists, is go out and help the white Aussies. We want to, let's say you want to be a white nationalist in our culture. I go to church every week. Christianity is part of Western culture. I see more non-white people there at church than what I see white people. So why are you abandoning your culture there if that's part of your Western culture, your European culture, is being abandoned? I see a lot of young ones, but a lot of them are Asians, Catholics, Christians, same people you want to kick out. If the white section of our society wants to promote white nationalism, why aren't we embracing white families more? Why aren't we getting young ones marrying more? Why are we not having more kids instead of aborting them? I mean, there was a scary stat I found the other day that more lives get lost in the womb than any way of other death. It's crazy. That's across the globe. 400,000 was either a day or a week. It's just insane. And predominantly a lot of them are either white kids or African-American kids. So if you want to preserve white culture, do something more positive than bitch and whine. Go help white farmers. These guys are screaming out for help. They don't care. So naturally when you make a post like that, and it is funny. I'm sorry, I'll probably get a flood more of it now. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just built that way. I don't mind it. I don't know. Bring it. If they bring it on, they bring it on. I've got better things to do with my day. I'll tolerate it up to a certain point. But sure enough, I got a few idiots making a few stupid arguments. I had one. Somehow managed to bring this argument around to gun control. I'm going, what are you talking about? We weren't even talking about gun control. We're talking about white farmers and whether they overpay or underpay Aussie workers compared to immigrant workers. Now, that's a fact. There's laws against that. There's laws. So if that's a fact, go find out the farmer. If he's breaking the law, well, you want to dob him in, feel free. Not me personally, but, go for it. But we have a lot of immigrants in a lot of industries. And there's another one who went, they always go back to the white Australia policy, back to 1901, blah, blah, blah. But that's pretty inconvenient because if you go back to the Eureka stockade and the mines and all that, we did have Chinese workers, a lot of them working those mines. So all through our history, whether they're Jewish workers, Chinese workers, Indian workers, Italian workers, Greek workers, Vietnamese workers, Chinese workers, Indonesian workers, Lebanese workers, we can go on and on and on, Serbians, Croats, whatever. We've always brought across immigrant workers to fill a void. Now, I've got no issue with that, as long as when they come here, they adopt our way of life. And I think we can all agree, or most sane people can agree, a lot of the mass immigration is not coming across for that. They're coming across for a lot of the welfare. They're coming a lot to not adopt our culture, but to try and impose their culture on us. And they're the ones we should piss off. And so if people are going to come into this country and try and do the right thing and work hard, pay taxes, be good citizens, raise families, do all the right things, I've got no issue with it. But there was one guy, I'll give him a share, I'll make him famous. Why not? I'm not doxing him, he's already anonymous. So let's get our Twitter up. He deserves a mention. He went hard at it today. I'll get it up. Sorry, I've got to get in my notifications. Where is he? There he goes. Brian Jim Bob. Good name. Like the last name. So here's my point. So he's jumped on my thread. He's having a crack at me. But the white nationalists are like the ALP. The ALP never want to mention radical Islam. The white nationalists never want to mention white nationalist or even Nazi. Just come out and say it. So he's trying to say, because I said it was a fact, so he retweeted this. So now it's a fact, has been that way for decades since I was a teenager. It was a Vietnamese community back then prepared to work the farms, or British backpackers, or even European backpackers. That's just a fact. There was Aussie kids, I was one of them, that was working. And like I said to him, it's also a bit inconvenient for your argument. The workers in this clip weren't foreigners, but in fact white Aussies in their 60s and 70s. So are you proposing deporting white older Aussies simply because they are doing some hard work on their farm? Is that what you're arguing? So he's going, Australia couldn't have had the farming. He made an argument here. I don't know who it is or who owns the land in question. Do you? Corporatisation of agriculture is very real, though. But regardless, everyone in the video, so the three older Aussie guys, the white guys in the 60s and 70s, should be immediately deported. Aussies don't want to work is anti-white propaganda. And these Aussie guys are working their ass off in their 60s and 70s, and he wants to deport them. And, I pointed out his hypocrisy on that, so then he had to go share it with everyone. Thing is, when you share it, I see it. I'll get back in there, sorry. Where am I? I've lost him again. Here we go. But as I kept saying, I made the argument then, but then, he keeps jumping back on. So Australia throughout his history, so I made the point of that. Are you just willfully pretending the white Australia policy didn't exist? No, it did exist. All right, but after World War II, after our Aussies went across and actually fought with African Americans, and the New Guinea natives saved so many young Aussie lives, which you obviously don't seem to understand, the concept of a fair go really took off. I know that because my parents were part of that generation, and they voted the white policy out, whether you like it or not. And I don't see how you ever get it back in. But I don't see how this debate had anything to do with the white policy. So like I said to him, he can't say it. He just can't come out and say what he wants to say. Come on, you're nearly there. Spit it out. For the majority of Australian history, you've specifically and deliberately excluded the people that you think are so important to building our nation, you silly old man. So we start with the sledges. That's okay. But nowhere did I not acknowledge, and if anyone goes through my feed, Anglo-European history. I love our Anglo-European history. I just don't ignore the rest of it. So by now I'm just playing games. So still can't say it. Tell me what you want me to say, you old parasite. So he resorts to sledges. I've just got to point out, you've got to just come to me with an argument. It's and I've invited several NSN types to come on and just have a sensible discussion. Come on for a debate. Come on for a discussion. Probably a discussion more than a debate. Anyone who sees me with or everyone else, we just sit and talk and find out why they have these attitudes. But when you want to sledge, or you don't want to bring up, or you want to bring up inconvenient, when you want to bring up disinformation as facts, and some facts are inconvenient, I mean, just stand by what you're saying. What this guy should have said, hey, mate, I'm a white nationalist. I hate Asians. I hate Indians. I hate everyone who's not white. And we should deport every single bastard back to where they came from. That's your stance. Say it. Just say it. Instead, he's making an argument for deporting three white guys in their 60s and 70s because he doesn't want to say it. Oh, my God. And this is where the whole free speech debate is nuts. Say what you're thinking and then make a legitimate debate, legitimate points about what you're saying. You can recognise, for example, the white Australian contribution to our history, but you've also got to recognise the legitimate positive contributions of others that are now Australian citizens. The Italians and Greeks now go back 3-4 generations. Are they considered Aussies? You're an Aussie if you're an Aussie citizen. You're an Aussie if you buy into our culture, you pay your taxes, you have a good, you work hard, you try and better your family's life, and you contribute to society. You know, whether you contribute to your church or whether you contribute to your sports club or whatever it is you like contributing to. But you're making the community better, safer, more positive, happier. You do all those things, then in my book, you're an Aussie. As long as you love our flag, which is downstairs, I'm sorry, because I was going to broadcast from downstairs. As long as you love our flag, love our culture, and you want to make our country a better place, you're more than welcome. But here's the problem. The one group that don't want to do that, radical Islam, you know, even our white nationalist friends won't come around because they're too busy with the Jew problem. There you go. You can say that too. They don't want to say radical Islam. They want to focus on all the Asians and the Indians and the Jews and all that. You know, they want to put them all in one boat. Instead, you know, they're not the ones causing the issues. They're not the ones who've just shot up 60 people. It's radical Islam. Elbow can't say it. You bastards can't say it. I can say it. Bloody radical Islam. Terrorist. Radical Islam. Not Muslims. Radical Islam. Can I say it again? Radical Islam. Elbow. Hope you see this. Not hard. Radical Islam. That's your problem. Stop going for our free speech. Stop going for our right to assemble. Stop going for people's guns who want to owe them. We're seeing in Iran now the ultimate result of a civilian population that has been disarmed when they've got corrupt police or not even police, brown shirts walking around just shooting people. They reckon it's 20,000 dead. You can guarantee it's a lot higher than that. They're shooting their own citizens. They're murdering their own citizens on the streets. So what's Elbow's solution? Well, let's disarm the Australian population even more. Let's restrict their freedom of speech. Let's not them call out radical Islam. Who knows? I might, just for this video, if they ever get up what they want to get up, I could be guilty of hate speech because I said radical Islam then just half a dozen times. I should be able to say radical Islam without a problem. I'm a Catholic, but any priest who's a pedophile should be hung, drawn and quartered. Any pedophile should be. But there's a lot of pedophiles all over the place, and they're not in the Catholic Church nowadays because the Catholic Church has now gone so far away because of what they went through. It's probably one of the Catholic teachers told me, and so did one of the public school teachers, it's the safest place to be now because they take all the precautions to make sure that can't happen again. And God hopes that never does happen again. But where are a lot of the pedophiles now? A lot of them are in the political establishment, the institutions, education, legal. They're still out there. They're just in different places. And a lot of them are just in the home. So how you ever get rid of that one, I don't know. But the punishments need to fit the crime. But what are our Labor friends doing? MAPS, minor attracted persons. Fuck, mate. And people are worrying about whether immigrants are going off to a farm to do a harder job. But we got bigger problems in this country. So anyway, there's my rant. Got it in, and I've taken 37 minutes, which isn't too bad. So that'll do me for today. Tomorrow, got my Tuesday night podcast. I would love. They're going to be voting on a lot of this legislation tomorrow. If you want to come on board with me, and if we need to, we'll stay on for quite some time. We'll get the Parliament sessions up. Probably you'll get through the House pretty quickly if they've made a deal. And then it'll be going into the Senate. So the Senate's where all the action happens. Will it get blocked? Will it not get blocked? So if anyone wants to come up with me for a Senate party and put yourself through that, and we can discuss all sorts of topics doing it, I'd love to have 2 or 3 others with me, and we can talk about topics of the day. We can watch the Senate in the background. We can cross to it as they watch it. Australia versus Agenda does this very well. And so it won't harm to have more eyes on it than what we know, what we should. And no one likes watching this. It can be boring as crap, but if there's 2 or 3 of us and we're discussing these things, makes it a lot better and a lot more informative. So I'll be back tomorrow night for the podcast. Last week we announced our latest policy. We won't be doing that tomorrow night. We will be focusing entirely on what's going on in our Parliament and what legislation they're trying to pass without our rubber stamp. You know, legislation we don't want. So we'll be watching that tomorrow night through the podcast. So we'll have the rant mid-afternoon about 3 o'clock, 3:30. And we'll have the podcast at 8 o'clock like we do every Tuesday. So from me, from my boy JJ, look at him. He's so beautiful. He's not coming off the couch today. All right. God bless your kids. God bless your grandkids. God bless your pets. God bless the flag, which is downstairs. God bless our country. Let's make it what she used to be like. Let's make it great again. And, God, it sounded like Trump. And